So in the previous class we dealt with the design of transformer. Okay. So today we will be continuing with the design of synchronous machines. Okay. Design of synchronous machines. So we know that synchronous machines are the machines which are giving us the electrical energy, okay, continuously. Okay, so electrical energy can be obtained from the batteries in the form of DC. Okay, it can be obtained from the distributed generation. Now if I want generation here, I can generate it here by using a small generator of the capacity required by me for this connected load. Okay, and at the large they are generated by synchronous generators in the generating stations or power plants. Okay, so these are nothing but the alternators. The synchronous machines are nothing but the alternators. Okay, so these are alternators. In the sense they are AC generators. These are AC generators. The generators that generate alternating current power. Okay, AC power. Those are alternators. So when they are connected in synchronous with the power network, those are called synchronous generators or synchronous machines. And almost all the generators we design are at the large scale. If the large generators are to be designed, then those are designed for operating in synchronism with all the generators existing in the power networks. Because we know that the entire power network is a single grid connection in India, and that grid is receiving power from various sources of different natures. Okay, so we have different sources. Okay. We have hydro plant. We have thermal plant, we have nuclear plant, we have wind plant, we have solar plant. These are the major sources from where we are getting the power. Still there are diesel generators, DG units, we have tidal, we have geothermal. Okay, but the amount of power what we get from those sources are very less. Okay, so majorly these are the 5 sources from where I used to get the power. Now see the nature of power what we get here is AC. Okay, here we get AC, here we get AC, wind, we get AC converted to DC, again converted to AC most of the times. Okay, then solar we get DC to AC. Okay, so the power what we get in wind and solar are slightly different. Whatever the power we get in AC is most of the times not directly used from the windmills, that is converted to DC, then it is again converted to AC for the required frequency, then we are using it. So here conversion is taking place. But whereas in these 3 cases, whatever it is generated in the generator, directly we are getting it. Okay. So now our entire power network is connected from these, say suppose 5 sources plus distributed generation, all those things. So whatever the generator I am using in this hydro plant should operate in parallel, in synchronism with all these generators that we are using. Okay, all this power, because the power when it is fed to the grid, okay, should be connected through the infinite bus bar. And infinite bus bar is that point or node in the power network which has got the constant voltage and frequency operation. The frequency is 50 Hz. So from whichever source I am getting power, it should be at 50 Hz. And the amount of voltage or the value of voltage at the point of connection should be the grid voltage. If it is 11 kV, 11 kV, 33 kV, 33 kV, so on, like that. Okay, again stepping up, stepping down is done. So all those mechanisms are done, which you already have studied in transmission distribution, okay, and power generation. Okay, so why alternators are called synchronous generators is because a alternator generating in hydro plant has to operate in parallel or in synchronism with all the generators which are existing. A generator operating in thermal plant should operate in synchronism with all other generators operating. Hence, it is called a synchronous machine. That is the reason. Okay. So, generator, it is as important to operate individually. Okay. How much it is important to operate individually, it is also important for a generator to operate in parallel. Okay. So, these things we should be keeping in our mind when we go for the design of the synchronous machines. Okay. So we know that synchronous machines are of two types. Okay. Salient pole and non-salient pole. Salient pole machines and non-salient pole machines. Okay, these are also known as smooth cylindrical machines. These are also known as smooth cylindrical machine. Okay, so salient pole are the machine are the rotors. Okay, these two are based on the rotors. Stator is same for both the motors. Okay, so it has both the generators. Stator, okay, rotor. In this rotor I have these two types, salient pole and non-salient pole. Salient pole and non-salient pole. Okay. Now how the construction of salient pole and non-salient pole is, there is a detailed video lecture on the construction that I will share with you. I will not deal with the complete constructional aspects here again. Okay, you can go through that video. Okay, but meanwhile I will be showing you the stator and rotor parts. Okay, so this is the stator. Okay, this is the stator of synchronous generator, which has got the hollow cylindrical structure and the slots are punched in the inner periphery. Okay, and we will be keeping the armature winding inside this stator. Okay, we will be keeping armature winding in these slots. We know that there are a lot of advantages of using stationary armature over rotating armature. Okay, the biggest advantage is that the collection of current at large values is very simple in from stator than from rotor. Okay, so this is the stator, okay, of synchronous generator or synchronous machine or an alternator, whatever you may call, wherein I will be keeping three-phase distributed winding. Okay, you will be keeping three-phase distributed winding. Okay, and there are two types of rotors. One is salient pole. This is a salient pole rotor. You can observe the poles are projecting outside. Okay, and the lines what you are looking here or seeing here are nothing but the windings. Okay, so when I place this, okay, when I place this rotor inside the stator, okay, and I provide the mechanical energy and excitation. Okay, now these four poles will be providing the flux. These four poles will provide the produce the flux in the air gap, and when I give the mechanical energy and when these poles rotate, the flux will rotate. Okay, the flux will rotate in the air gap, move in the air gap, and that variable flux, rotating flux, will link the armature winding and an EMF is induced. This is how generator works. So this is a salient pole alternator or salient pole rotor. Okay, so this salient pole rotor, the poles are salient, those are projecting. Because of projection of poles, okay, I cannot use this kind of rotor for large speed applications. I will be using it for low speed applications because air gap is non-uniform. Air gap is non-uniform here, and when I start rotating this at high speeds, the fixation of this pole core to the magnetic wheel, may get loosened because of centrifugal forces operating radially outwards. Hence, I will not be using this kind of rotor for large speed applications. I will be using this kind of rotor for low speed applications. So when my speed goes down, okay, please pay attention. When my speed goes down, see, F is equals to Pn by 120. My F is equals to 50 Hertz. I need this compulsorily. But I am operating the rotor, this salient pole rotor at lower speeds. So when speeds are getting reduced, poles must be increased, so that my frequency obtained should be 50 Hertz exactly. So to provide more number of poles, for the structure, I should go on increasing the diameter. Okay, I will be increasing the diameter of the rotor. So if I want to place more number of poles, I need more diameter, large diameter, so that I will get better circumferential space, and I can place any number of poles I want. So this kind of rotor alternators are generally used for low speed applications, and this makes the diameter of salient pole rotor very large, whereas reducing the length. Why length reduces? Because we know that the volume of the machine is directly proportional to the power output. So my power output is constant for a given specification. When I increase the diameter, length will decrease, obviously. So salient pole alternators are the machines with large diameter and shorter length, and these are more suitable for the applications where the prime mover is of large diameter, and obviously prime mover of large diameter is used in hydroelectric plant. Okay, if you see the turbine, if you see the turbine of hydroelectric plant, the turbine will be of several meters in its diameter. Okay, some around 10 to 15 meters in diameter. You will get the turbine. So why? Because it is obvious. Because the turbine has to rotate when the water will fall on its blades. Okay. So larger the diameter of the turbine, more is the collection of the kinetic energy from the water. Therefore, the turbine are made with large diameters, but the hydroelectric plants are operated at low speeds. Why at low speeds? Because generally how the hydroelectric plants operated are is, there will not be a forced flow of water on the turbine blades. We use generally the gravity. Why forcing is difficult? Because water has got enormous amount of mass. It is not like the gas, it is not like the steam. Steam is very light. Okay, so I can pressurize the steam in one particular pressure chamber, then I can release it to hit the turbine blades. But the same thing I cannot do it with water. Hydropower will come with mass. Large amount of mass will be there associated with the water. As the volume of water increases, mass of the water will also increase. Hence, what generally it is done is, the natural gravity or the fall of water through the gravity is utilized. Okay. So gravity is used to make the water hit the turbine blades. Hence, I may not achieve large speeds, okay, as desirable. So I should be happy with the available speed, okay, when the water hits the turbine blades through its natural gravity and flow. Therefore, the speed at which hydro plants operate varies. Hence, salient pole machines are more suitable for hydroelectric plants. Okay, we use salient pole machines. In thermal, like I told, the water is superheated, converted into steam. That steam is pressurized in a chamber and made to hit the nozzle. And if I don't pressurize the steam and make the nozzle hit by the steam, make the blades of the turbine hit by the steam through nozzle, the efficiency of steam decreases. Okay, so when I make the steam hit the turbine blades through nozzle, it has to be at very high pressure, and when high pressure steam is released to hit the turbine blades, the turbine blades starts rotating at very large speeds. Hence, I need the construction of generator which is suitable for large speeds. That is smooth cylindrical rotor. Okay, so the smooth cylindrical rotor is of this structure, wherein the outer periphery of the rotor, okay, is punched with the slots. I don't know when because background is also white, thermocol is also white, so I don't know how much. Yeah, I think now it's fine. Okay, so the slots you can observe here. So these slots will carry the field winding, and the unslotted part will be forming the poles. Okay, and because the structure is solid, there is no external fixation like the salient poles to the magnetic wheel. This is a solid structure. This is single lamination, and to get the sufficient length, I will be pressing all the laminations together. Okay, so therefore this will give very solid structure for me, and because the air gap will be uniform, when I place this in the stator, you can observe the air gap is uniform. Okay, and this will make the operation less noisy, okay, mechanically more strong. Hence I can use this kind of rotor for large speed applications. Salient pole rotors are used up to 700 rpm. These are used up to 3000 rpm. Okay, so the power plants that are operated with thermal energy and nuclear energy use salient, non-salient pole alternators, because in both the cases we are superheating the water, converting it into the steam and made to hit the turbines and these turbine blades will be rotating at very large speeds. I need a high speed generator. Okay, so therefore again you observe the frequency here. So free F is equals to Pn by 120. So here again this is 50 Hz I need. The speed is very high. Now the number of poles should decrease. So non-salient pole alternator will be having maximum of 2 to 4 poles. It won't increase beyond 4 poles, because if I increase beyond 4 poles, there will be no space for the poles. Okay, and I need to make diameter large. If I make diameter large, peripheral velocity increases because of high speed. Mechanical difficulties will be occurred. So therefore, the non-salient pole alternators or cylindrical alternators comes with shorter diameter, larger length. Okay, they comes with shorter diameter and larger length. I hope you remember this rotor structure. Okay, stator structure in the Raichur thermal plant which we visited in the previous semester, where the diameter was less and the length was large. Okay, because that thermal plant was using the non-salient pole alternator which has got shorter diameter and very large length. Okay, you can recall that structure. Okay, so this is about the construction of the alternators, okay, or synchronous generators. This is very brief construction. Detailed constructions is provided in the video that I will share with you. Okay, so next directly I will move to output equation. Output equation of synchronous generator. Output equation of synchronous generator. Output equation of synchronous generator is exactly the same as that of induction motor. So I will not derive it again now. In the previous lectures, we have derived the output equation of induction motor. I will save that time. Okay, directly I will take the output equation expression and we will see what are the further things to be covered. Okay, so output equation of synchronous generator, okay, it is same as induction motor, three-phase induction motor, obviously same as three-phase induction motor. Okay, so I will write it as Q is equals to, the general form is same, Q is equals to C naught d square L ns. Okay, kVA. C naught d square L ns kVA. Okay, where C naught is output coefficient and this C naught is equals to 1.11 BAV Q into kW into 10 to the power minus 9. Okay, where BAV is P5 divided by pi dl Weber per meter square. Specific magnetic loading Q is equals to IA ZA divided by pi d ampere per meter. Okay, and kW is winding factor. kW is winding factor. Okay, so this is the output equation. I can write this as d square L is equals to Q, okay, C naught into ns. I can write d square L is inversely proportional to, or C naught is directly proportional to BAV and Q, and d square L is inversely proportional to BAV and Q. So this general equation we have already seen that the specific loadings are always inversely proportional to the size of the machine or volume of the machine. Okay, so now we have to discuss about the choice of specific loadings. Okay, it is not same as that of induction motor, because induction motor was giving out the mechanical energy and its principle of operation is different, application is different. Okay, and synchronous generator is giving out electrical energy, its principle of operation is different and application is different. Okay, so therefore certain points will remain same, like the losses, efficiency and all these things will remain same, but there are some additional points to be studied here or considered here while choosing the specific magnetic and specific electric loadings for the alternator. So first we will look into the choice of specific magnetic loading. Choice of specific magnetic loading. BAV. Okay. So for my reference, I will write BAV equation is equals to P5 divided by dl. Okay. So it is very much evident that if I choose larger values of specific magnetic loading, the volume of the machine decreases. Okay, the volume of the machine decreases. But we should also consider the negative points. Okay, the cons of using the larger values of specific magnetic loading. Okay, in that first point we consider is iron loss. Okay, or core loss, both are same. Okay, iron loss or core loss. So it is very much evident that as BAV increases, okay, iron loss increases, because hysteresis loss is proportional to Bm raised to 1.6 and eddy current loss is proportional to Bm square. So if I have to place more amount of or large amount of magnetic flux density in the air gap, okay, then overall magnetic flux density requirement will also increase. Hence, the iron losses in the armature core. Okay, iron losses in the armature core. So what is armature core is this. This is armature, this is the armature core part. Okay, so iron losses, yoke part is very thin. Okay, this armature core part, thermocol part, what you are seeing, this is armature core. So iron losses in this armature core will be large because flux density is large, obviously. So I cannot choose large values of BAV with respect to the iron losses. If iron losses increase, then temperature rise increases. Temperature rise increases means for large machines I should be providing sufficient amount of cooling, cost increases, and as temperature rise increases, efficiency decreases. Okay, that is first point. Second point is voltage. Okay, so I should be considering voltage value into account before I choose the large values of magnetic loading. Okay, how I have to consider voltage is, as the size of the machine increases, and we should be worrying about here the large machines only, because most of the time synchronous generators are built for large power applications. Those are not built for low power applications. Okay, small synchronous machines are very rarely used. Earlier we used to have the individual synchronous single phase generators, single phase generators used in some shops and in some houses. But now when we are having the power electronic inverters, then use of this single phase generators have gone down. Why? Because they create noise, and those have to be coupled with diesel engine, and the smoke is additional part what we get. So to avoid this, most of the people now for domestic applications and small commercial applications, they are going for inverters. So now whatever the generators we design, these are for large power applications only. Okay, these are for large power applications. If the requirement, is more than 200 or 250 kVA, okay, then we are going for generators. Then only we are going for generators. For less than that, most of the times, for 10 kVA to 50 to 100 kVA, we may be using the power electronic inverters. Multiple power electronic inverters are used. So therefore, for low power applications, these alternators have lost their role. Okay, so now whatever the usage is there for synchronous generators, it is there for large power applications. So when we say for large power applications, we know that large powers are to be generated at larger voltages. Okay, obviously it should be generated at larger voltages. I cannot generate 100 megawatts of power at 450 volts. It has to be generated generally at 11 kV or 33 kV. Standard voltage of generation is made 11 kV. Okay, but if still I need very large power, then I have to generate power at large voltages, because if I don't generate at large voltages, my current goes on increasing, which will add additional difficulties in handling. Okay, because we know that what is Q is equals to, fundamentally it is nothing but my 3 into EPH into IPH. Okay, so if I reduce the voltage, current has to increase for the same amount of power requirement. So voltage, when we design for large power applications, the voltage will increase. Okay, for large generators, voltage increases. Therefore, insulation requirement increases. Where we are insulating? In the armature slots, because I have to place the conductors in the armature slots. Okay, so whatever the conductors I am placing in armature slots, the insulation requirement of this slot will increase. So when I have to provide more insulation in the slot, I need to provide more space in the slot. So the slot dimension increases. Insulation in slot increases. Therefore, slot dimensions increase and teeth width decrease. Teeth width decrease. If the width of the teeth goes on decreasing, now we have two difficulties. One, the mechanical strength of the teeth goes on decreasing, because of which the deformation of teeth may take place and conductors may fly out. This is one case. Second case, as the teeth width is decreasing, the cross section of the teeth is also decreasing. So area of teeth is decreasing. So flux density in teeth is nothing but flux divided by area of teeth. As area of teeth decreases, flux density in teeth increases, which will add additional losses. Plus, if the flux density in the teeth increases beyond certain level, the teeth may get saturated. Once magnetic saturation of the magnetic parts occur, energy conversion suffers. Harmonics gets induced. So the voltage wave whatever we get by the generation from the generation may not be sinusoidal in nature, or may not be of that amplitude what I require. Therefore, before choosing the magnetic loading, specific magnetic loading, I should be keeping in mind about the voltage value, because as voltage increases, insulation requirement increases. Okay. Then as insulation requirement increases, slot dimension will also increase, because I have to provide insulation in the slot. Each conductor is carrying, or it is having some amount of voltage across it. So that voltage has to be isolated from the nearby conducting paths. Therefore, my insulation requirement increase. If I have to put more insulation in the slot, slot dimension has to be increased. So when slot dimension increases, teeth dimension decreases. Teeth dimension in the sense teeth width decreases, because I cannot change diameter. Diameter is the function of output power, so I can't change that. Therefore, teeth width decreases. Mechanically, teeth will become weak, and it may also go for saturation and excess losses because of decreased area of the teeth. Okay, so this is the effect of voltage, or this is the effect of specific magnetic loading. Okay, with respect to the voltage. Okay. Next point is, third point. This first time we are looking into transient short circuit current. Transient short circuit current. Okay. First we will see what is short circuit current. Short circuit current is the maximum current that armature can withstand, even beyond maximum load current. Okay. Why this is important? Because sometimes if there are momentary short circuits or on the generator, then that momentary short circuits should not cause any damage to the generator. To that level, I should be designing the generator so that any generator can withstand some momentary short circuits. No doubt there are protective devices associated for each generator. There are many relays, many circuit breakers that we will be using to protect the generator. Still, if there are momentary short circuits, then any machine should be having capacity to withstand it. That is the requirement. Okay. Now what happens with this is, if the flux density increases, okay, leakage reactance decreases. Okay. If flux density increases, leakage reactance decreases. So for example, we have BAV is equals to P phi divided by pi dl. Now for the given capacity of the machine, my D and L are constants. For given capacity of the machine, my D and L are constants. For the given frequency of the machine, my number of poles are constant, because I know at what speed I will be operating. So therefore, my poles are constant, D and L are constant. BAV is proportional to the flux per pole produced. If I keep larger BAV value, the flux per pole produced will also increase, because that is the only variable in this expression. if I increase BAV, my flux per pole increases. If flux produced increases, flux linkage increases, flux leakage decreases. If leakage decreases, leakage reactance decreases. Okay? Look here once again. As BAV is increased, my flux will increase. If the flux is increased, then I am getting more flux for the same space. Therefore, more flux will link, less flux will leak. As less flux is leaking, my leakage reactance is also less. But when you observe the short circuit current, ISC is equals to, it is V divided by ZAC, the short circuit impedance, which is equals to V divided by, I can observe, take it as under root R square plus per phase only, all these are per phase, XS, synchronous reactance. Okay, synchronous reactance combines leakage reactance, armature reaction reactance. Okay, so therefore, if the leakage reactance is less, my impedance is less, short circuit current will increase. So controlling the short circuit current is difficult, because if short circuit increases, then copper losses will increase, additional temperature rise will be there in the machine, that may cause damage to the insulation as well as to the conductors. Okay, so to have a better control over the short circuit current, transient short circuit current, it is called a transient short circuit current, and you know now what is the meaning of transient. Okay, whenever we switch on any system, we get transients there, because it takes some time to get to the steady state. So the state from the point of switching on to the steady state is called transient, and in that transient, if the short circuit currents are very large, then they may cause additional damage to the system, to the generator, by incurring more amount of copper losses, by increasing the temperature rise. Okay, they may damage the conductor due to excess heat, and also it will deteriorate the insulation at a faster rate. So therefore, with respect to the transient short circuit current controlling, I should not be keeping BAV of larger value. Okay, so first point, I should not keep BAV of larger value, because losses will be increased. Second point, I should not be keeping BAV of larger value, okay, because if I keep larger value of BAV, okay, then my voltage will increase, because obviously more the flux density, more the voltage. V is equals to what? In this case, V is equals to BLV sin theta. What is this B? It is BAV. We have done this in the DC machines. EMF induced per conductor, we took it as BAV L into peripheral velocity. Is it? Here sin theta will come. That's it. That is the only change. Or if you take this only, maximum induced voltage. Okay. So maximum induced voltage EM is equals to BAV L into V. So if I keep larger value of BAV, induced voltage will also be large. If induced voltage is large, this difficulty we are facing. So I should not be keeping larger value of BAV with respect to the voltage value. Okay. And third point, with respect to the transient current, short circuit current, I should not be keeping BAV of larger value, because if I keep BAV larger value, my flux increases. As flux per pole increases, okay, my leakage reactance decreases. More the flux, less the leakage. If leakage reactance decreases, short circuit current increases, which may cause a damage. If the short circuit persists for a long time, then it may cause damage to the system. So therefore, with respect to transient short circuit currents, I should not be using larger values of BAV. Okay. Then fourth point, stability. Stability. Okay. The question is, why stability has come in the generators? Okay. Because so far In no electrical machine we worried about stability. We are worrying only in generators, because generators have to be operated in synchronous with the entire system. No other machine is operating in synchronous. Transformer is operating, but it is having no moving parts. It is not converting, it is simply transferring. So it is very simple machine. Transformer is very simple machine when compared to rotating machines. Okay? So therefore, and motors, we don't generally connect them in parallel. They are operated individually. So stability will not come into picture. Stability will come into picture here. Stability will come into picture in motors in a different way, but not with respect to this kind of stabilities. Okay? So the maximum power, steady state stability, you call steady state stability. Steady state stability limit or maximum power. Okay, Pmax is equals to, it is E naught into V divided by XS. E naught into V divided by XS. Okay. So this equation you have used in power angle characteristics of the synchronous generator. You did experiment on this. Okay. So this is the maximum power. This is the maximum power that any generator can generate. Okay, and we expect this power to be generated when it is in synchronism. Okay. Now you can observe maximum power is inversely proportional to synchronous reactance. XS is synchronous reactance. It is armature leakage reactance plus armature reaction reactance. Okay. So here I can write XS is equals to XA plus XAR. So this is my point of interest, because XAR, it depends on the load. Okay, armature reaction depends on the load in generators. Okay, here armature leakage reactance is inversely proportional to the maximum power or steady state stability limit. So if I choose larger BAV, already we have seen my leakage reactance decreases. If I choose large value of specific magnetic loading, then my leakage reactance decreases. Okay. And the maximum power capacity increases. Now steady state stability increases here. Why? Because here this is XA plus XAR. So as this decreases, okay, as BAV increases, in the very previous point we have discussed, as BAV increases, my leakage reactance decreases. As leakage reactance decreases, my steady state stability limit increases. So for the same dimensions given, I can get more maximum power out of the generator. So with respect to this point, it is advantageous to keep the larger value of BAV. So I can keep large values of BAV or higher values of BAV to improve the steady state stability limit, or to improve the maximum power of the, or maximum power capacity of the alternator. So this is advantageous now. Previous all 3 points were disadvantageous if you choose BAV larger. Okay. Then next is parallel operation, which is extremely important for any given generator. If I have designed very excellently, very economically, and very in a way which is giving best performance individually, but if it fails to give its performance in parallel operation, that synchronous generator is of no use for me. I can use it for the isolated loads, that's it. Okay, but all these synchronous generators are majorly designed for better parallel operation. Okay, so fifth point to be considered is parallel operation. Fifth point to be considered is parallel operation. Now again coming back to previous point, here we have this Pmax equal to E naught V by Xs. This itself will be deciding the synchronizing power. Maximum power and synchronizing power are sometimes I can consider equal or sometimes I can consider proportional. Okay, so here maximum power, now no doubt the steady state stability is increased by the choice of larger values of BAB. Similarly, the synchronizing power of the generator is also increased by the choice of larger BAB, because synchronizing power is always inversely proportional to the leakage reactance. It is inversely proportional to the leakage reactance. Okay, so with the choice of or in general you can say synchronous reactance, because when I am synchronizing, I will let us consider synchronous reactance. So this synchronizing power is inversely proportional to Xs. Larger the synchronous reactance, lesser is the synchronizing power. Therefore, with the choice of BAB, if BAB is increased, my phi is increased, therefore XA is decreased and XS equals to XA plus XAR decreases and synchronizing power increases. So for parallel operation, choice of larger values of flux density is advantageous. Okay, for parallel operation, choice of larger values of flux density is advantageous. Okay, because with the choice of larger values of flux density, my synchronized reactance decreases, hence synchronizing power increases. So therefore, when the alternator or the generator is operated in synchronous with the entire power network generators, it will give its maximum power output to the network. That is what I need. Okay, so this is with respect to parallel operation. So altogether we have seen 5 points. Okay, in these 5 points, 3 are suffering because of larger value of flux density and 2 are getting aided, which are extremely important. Okay, point number 4 and point number 5 are extremely important for the synchronous operation of the generator. But by simply considering these 2 points, I cannot choose the values of BAV, because if I choose values of BAV, the first 3 points will also be showing its effect on these things. Okay, it is not that all the 5 points are individually existing. All these 5 points are existing in the same system simultaneously and they have cumulative effect. Okay, so therefore I cannot simply neglect first 3 points, which I should not consider that as lesser important points, and because these 2 are extremely important for my synchronization, I will consider only this and give my values. No, we don't do that. Again, we will be having a trade-off, a business between these 5 members. Okay, I will be compromising. Okay. So BAV, general values. Okay, general values, I can say BAV is equals to 0.522 to 0.65 Tesla. Okay, these are for salient pole machines. And BAV is equals to 0.54 to 0.65 Tesla for non-salient pole machines. So these are the values, ranges that we will be choosing. Okay. So with this, we will end today's session. Okay. So choice of specific loadings, magnetic loading we have seen. In the next class, we will look into the choice of specific electric loading. Okay, and then we will go for the design of main dimensions.